Good evening, and welcome once again to the Shadow Gallery. I am, as always, your host, James Donnelly. And guess what time it is? It's time for new comics, bitches! Hadouken! Sorry. Okay, so, yeah, this was, an interesting week. Of course, we had Free Comic Book Day on Saturday, and sadly, I will be reviewing none of those here because I have this thing worked out with my local comic book store that even stuff on Free Comic Book Day, I can ask them to hold on for me. Now, of course, the one thing that I really desperately wanted was the Star Wars / Serenity comic that was written by Zach Whedon. I missed that, or I didn't miss it, but they have it. They just couldn't find it. And the Buffy / Guild comic, which also I had them set aside, but missed that too. And I was too late to pick up the Avengers Age of Ultron thing. Most of the other stuff just doesn't really appeal to me. I mean, I like the idea of free comic books, and, it's always fun to have a read of stuff that you haven't picked up before, but, if I'm not interested, then I don't get it. So, the other thing that I did get but have yet to read is the 2000 AD Free Comic Book Day thing that came out. So, when I do read that later, I'm sure that I'll tell you all about it. But until then, let's start off with the comics that came out last Wednesday. So we're going to start with DC first, because DC had kind of the biggest week, if you will, as far as new stuff that came out, because this was the beginning of the second wave of the New 52. Because they've axed, 6 titles, so here we have 6 new titles. Now, I didn't get them all. I only actually got one. I read the other 2. But there was also GI Combat came out this week, which I didn't pick up or didn't even read, because quite frankly, it's kind of a moral issue at this point in time, because they killed Men of War to make way for this. And I was a huge fan of Men of War, and I think it just sucks that they took that away. So, oh well. Anyway, so let's kick it off. And let's start off with Earth 2, number 1. Now, I wasn't really expecting much out of this book, because I'm not a huge fan of James Robinson, mostly because the stuff that I do know by him is his movie work, not so much his comic book work. And I know that, like The Shade is supposed to be great and everything like that, but, he's written, to the best of my knowledge, he wrote the scripts for 2 films, which are both unbelievable sacrilege, and they are From Hell and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Now, From Hell is not as bad as League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, since I consider League of Extraordinary Gentlemen to be one of the 5 worst films ever made. And From Hell is a little bit better than that, but not much. So, but I have read his JSA stuff before, and I remembered liking it. So I figured I'd give this the benefit of the doubt, and guess what? I loved this issue. I thought it was fantastic. It's, basically we've got the Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman of Earth 2 are fighting to stop basically an invasion from Apocalypse. You've got parademons by the thousands are just laying siege to Metropolis and all over the world. And then you have Supergirl and Robin. Now, of course, Supergirl is, basically, it's always been, it's Kara, the Earth 2 cousin of Superman. And you have Robin, who is Helena Wayne, who was, was the Earth 2 Huntress. But in this, she's the Earth 2 Robin. And, is Batman and Catwoman's daughter. So yeah. Um, so they're on, well, without the knowledge of Supergirl and Robin, they're kind of on this, at least Batman is on this basically kamikaze mission to stop all the parademons. And uh, Wonder Woman is the last of the Amazons. Superman is still Superman. Um, and so we have this kind of climactic final battle, one would hope, anyway, between Superman and between Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman against the Parademons and Steppenwolf. And in the midst of this, Wonder Woman is visited by Mercury. I thought that it was a really nice twist, a really not twist, but a nice touch that Robinson put in, that that the gods in Earth 2 Wonder Woman's world are the Roman gods, and like Mercury and Mars and Minerva and everything like that, and not the Greek gods like Zeus and Hera and so on and so forth. And he kind of, basically tells her that all of the gods are dead due to the parademons. And so basically Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman all go out in this massive blaze of glory, and Huntress and Robin, or Supergirl and Robin follow, a boom tube opens up, and they follow this mysterious figure back through the boom tube and disappear. But then we get to past that. Basically, the Earth is returned to normal, but heroes are still needed. So here we have Alan Scott, who is like kind of a media mogul, and we have Jay Garrick, who is kind of an irresponsible, college age guy, and we have these two characters, and it has these really kind of nice character moments as far as introducing them to a new kind of world of DC, and eventually Mercury shows up again in front of Jay Garrick, of course, with the with the hat and the wings and everything like that, and basically tells him that the world still needs heroes. So it's kind of like Justice League, but better. I was much more into this first issue of Earth 2, than I was ever into any issue of Jeff Johns and Jim Lee's Justice League. Now, of course, we have Nicola Scott on art, and that's a huge plus in my column, because she worked on Secret Six for a little while, and that was one of my very favorite books. And I'm still pissed as fucking hell that hasn't, like Suicide Squad hasn't ended, and Secret Six can make its way back, because that was one of my favorite books DC was putting out. But this was just really good, just a very, very solid piece of comic entertainment. James Robinson did some really clever stuff with it. I'm really looking forward to the next issue. So this is a very solid 4 out of 5 for Earth 2 #1. Now we have World's Finest #1. Now this is written by Paul Levitz, who did the Huntress miniseries. That was, essentially, to me, kind of felt like a travelogue of Italy more than it did an action, a Huntress like action book. And it had also, and it also has art by George Perez and Kevin Maguire. Now, this book, how do I put it? Well, the first impression that I got of it is that I've never seen George Perez's art look this bad. Never seen it look this bad. It's it's always been good and fresh, and it looks really polished and really clean. And this just looked ugly. It looked shitty, and I hated it. And like, how? I mean, it felt like it was something that was just whipped together in like 3 days. And Kevin Maguire, another great artist in his own right, also felt off. Now I don't know if it's the inker, and I can't remember the inker's name, but I don't know if they just completely fucked this up or what, because I've never seen either of their art look that bad. I mean, Maguire's art looked better than Perez's, but still, it's not Maguire. It doesn't have the same kind of Maguire-ish touch to it. I don't know. Maybe it's the coloring, maybe it's the inking. Again, I don't know. It just looked bad. And the story is fucking stupid. I hated this book. I mean, it was like, this is, you know, one of the worst number ones that I've read since the first wave of number ones of the New 52 came around. I mean, it's just, I felt like there's nothing of any interest going on. It's like, when does this exactly take place? Does this take place a couple of years before what's going on in the regular, you know, in the current thread of everything that's happening, you know, with Huntress kind of not being in the picture for this long, and that, but, you know, she still is the Huntress, and how's she going to get to Gotham City from here to make up for that? I mean, are they even involved anymore? And of course, you know, the redesign of Power Girl's suit, it's boring. You know, it doesn't have, of course, the boob window. And while a lot of people, you know, it's funny because you have, you know, I've been reading a lot of female comments about this new design for her costume, and it's funny because out of one ear it's saying, well, you know, like things like, you know, the enormous breasts and the boob window, it's like it's demeaning to women, and then on the other ear, now we're hearing from women that, okay, well, this new costume sucks because it takes away part of what was integral to her. So again, I don't really have a horse in this race, so I didn't care either way. I was hoping that it'd be good, but it was just shit. I mean, it was absolutely awful. I mean, you know, a 1.5, because there was some glimmer in this book as far as Maguire's art was concerned, because it looked okay, but it just, you know, it's, you know, it's a nothing book, and I'll never get another issue, that's for sure. Another one I want to talk about is Dial H. Now, Dial H, again, something completely new to me. I mean, I knew the Dial H for Hero existed, but I'd never read it. So I leave that to more of the kind of, you know, Silver, Bronze Age likers, you know, out there. But, you know, basically, you know, we have is, you know, a bunch of freaks and misfits that appear courtesy of a phone booth. And so you have, you know, big fat guy, heart attack, and his friend, who is apparently being, you know, who's had a heart attack, I should say, big fat guy, a smoker, you know, he's doing nothing with his life. He's got his friend who's apparently mixed up with some bad people, and his friend's getting beat up. He goes, you know, the fat guy kind of goes to help his friend, and inadvertently dials HERO, and appears Boy Chimney, who can basically form shapes out of smoke. And then, you know, more shit is going on, and, you know, so our fat, you know, protagonist dials it again, and now we have Captain Lachrymose, who feeds on misery and uses it as power. Basically, it kind of looks and plays like a Tim Burton film. I hate Tim Burton. However, I did find this a somewhat intriguing read. It was kind of interesting, but I'm not picking it up again. This is not going to be certainly a regular title for me. I thought it was kind of neat, but other than that, it's nothing that I care to ever pick up again. So I'd say it's about a 2.5 out of 5. Nothing really to say about it. I don't, you know, I know that, like Ghost Critic, you know who the writer is, and apparently they're respected in this field. I've never heard the artist before. I thought the art was pretty good. So, I mean, that's part of why I give it a 2 out of 5. So, anyway, so we'll be back with more Talkie Comic Geek. Okay?